Hello and welcome to Granada Reports on the programme this evening.
Another shocking revelation from the Lucy Letby inquiry. A union rep admits to a completely unprofessional friendship with a serial killer, including jokes about how to get away with murder.
Taking their fight to a new government, the mums whose children's lives were blighted by a drug they took whilst pregnant.
All they want is to go back to college. The disabled pupils stuck at home because their transport's been cut by the council.
It doesn't look like this is going to get sorted anytime soon. My thoughts and prayers are to everyone affected by this.
After the floods, a man from Macclesfield helping with the massive clear-up in Valencia.
Making an entrance, find out why Olympic gold medalist Matt Whitlock was showing off his skills to primary pupils in Preston.
As we build up to Remembrance Sunday, 91-year-old Roy rolls back the years to retrace his father's steps in the Great Wall.
And the weather continues to give, well, November over the next few days. Find out all the details later on in the weather forecast.
Yeah, all that's still to come, but first tonight to the inquiry into the crimes of Lucy Letby. A nursing union rep has admitted she had a, quote, completely unprofessional friendship with Letby, which included them swapping jokes about how to get away with murder.
The Thirlwall inquiry has been hearing from Hayley Griffiths from the Royal College of Nursing. She said the comments were made over WhatsApp a year after Letby had been removed from nursing duties after concerns were raised she might be harming babies.
Our correspondent Mel Barham is at the inquiry in Liverpool for us. Mel, so Lucy Letby was already under suspicion when she and Hayley Griffiths were sending each other these jokey messages.
That's right, Vicky. These messages were sent in 2016, so shortly after Lucy Letby was removed from the neonatal unit at the Countess of Chester Hospital, removed because consultants had raised concerns that she was deliberately harming babies. Now, Letby was redeployed to an admin role on the Risk and Patient Safety Department where Hayley Griffiths worked. Now, Hayley also happened to be a union rep, and she was asked to support Letby in her grievance procedure that she'd submitted over that removal from the unit. Now, Ms Griffiths admitted today that they'd become very close friends, perhaps inappropriate given her role of supporting her. And she was asked whether she loved her as a friend. Well, she said that Letby had become good friends with quite a lot of them in the office. Now, we were shown a series of WhatsApp messages between the two of them when Ms Griffiths said that she was watching a US drama called How to Get Away with Murder and learning some good tips. Now, Letby replied, "I could have given you some tips." Ms Griffiths went on, "I need someone to practice on to see if I can get away with it." And Letby replied, "I can think of 2 people you can practice on and will help you cover it up." Ms Griffiths then said, "Deal, I will get thinking of a plan, get the cruise booked as our getaway." Ms Griffiths apologised for this exchange today, saying she deeply regretted it. But at the time, she said she didn't read anything into what Letby was responding, despite knowing that foul play had been suspected.
And Mel, Lucy Letby's parents sent a letter to the hospital to support her during this grievance procedure.
That's right, Gamal. We saw a copy of that for the very first time today, and in it they said it has broken our hearts, especially as we live 100 miles away, and we're so proud of how Lucy has conducted herself and endured this nightmare. I've often said to Lucy, "How do you keep going?" And she says quite simply, "Because I haven't done anything wrong." Well, we also heard today from the investigative officer of that grievance procedure and his assistant, Lucy Samantha. Now, she told the hearing that their job wasn't to investigate those allegations against Letby, but to simply look at that grievance. Now, she said she didn't feel that the consultants had been open and honest with them in their interviews because they hadn't given them any concrete evidence that Lucy Letby had done anything wrong. But she was pushed on that surely it wasn't the consultant's job to come up with concrete evidence, and it was completely wrong and contrary to any safeguarding policies that if there was a risk of harm, she should have called the police. Well, she said that she believed there was a need to balance the reputation of the trust and Lucy Letby against the need to call the police. Well, tomorrow we will hear from the chair of that grievance procedure.
OK, Mel, thank you.
Well, next tonight, and two mothers whose children were severely harmed after they were prescribed a drug while pregnant have taken their campaign for justice to Downing Street.
Yeah, Emma Murphy from Greater Manchester and Janet Williams from Lancashire have been fighting for decades to get compensation for families affected by sodium valproate.
The drug is used to treat several conditions but should not be given to pregnant women as it can cause lifelong disabilities to babies exposed in the womb.
A review 4 years ago found that thousands of mums and babies had been exposed to avoidable harm. Our political correspondent Leisha McNally reports.
These mothers have had a long journey to justice, and today it brought them back to Westminster and back to a fight they've had many times before. Janet and Emma have spent years urging politicians to help children like theirs, children born with lifelong disabilities because of a medicine their mothers were prescribed while pregnant.
Guilt's a terrible thing. Myself and a lot of the other families are quite aware that it's not their fault now. The fact that the doctors should have told them and didn't, the guilt stays with you and it's with you forever. It's something that's never going to go away.
It affects their life every single day. As a mum, it is devastating to watch this impact. They're getting older, but this syndrome is getting harder and it is really difficult to watch that.
The drug Janet and Emma were given was sodium valproate. It was first licensed in 1973, an effective treatment for epilepsy, but animal testing showed it could cause harm to fetuses, and regulators said warning patients would cause fruitless anxiety. In the 1980s, academics began raising concerns of children left with conditions like learning difficulties, autism, mobility problems and heart defects. By 2020, an independent report found that 20,000 babies had been affected and recommended that the government pay compensation. 4 years later, another report, this time by the Patient Safety Commissioner, said action was urgent and interim payments should be provided while a compensation scheme was set up. That was 9 months and a general election ago.
We felt as though we were at the cusp of a victory, really. But since a new government has come in, we do feel slightly ignored.
We've also written to West Streeting 3 separate occasions and we've had no response from any of them.
Janet and Emma represent hundreds of parents still waiting for compensation who worry that they can't plan for their children's future care. Today, they delivered a letter to Downing Street calling for the Prime Minister to meet with them. So what would you say to the Prime Minister?
Bring it back to the children that are being affected today. They are not just policy, they're not just data, they are real life children who need the government's support now.
The government told us its sympathies are with those affected and it's fully focused on supporting patients and preventing future harm. They added that this is a complex area of work and a health minister will update the Patient Safety Commissioner at the earliest opportunity. Meanwhile, Janet and Emma say they'll keep on fighting and that Westminster hasn't seen the back of them yet. Leisha McNally, ITV News.
Well, next tonight, and the disabled students missing out on college after cuts made by their local council.
Mia Vackmanis and Alfie Furnival benefited from a Bury Council service that provided door-to-door transport for disabled students over the age of 16.
The service is on hold after the heavily indebted council was forced to make cuts. Their parents now say there is no other way they can get their children to college unless they give up their jobs.
Anna Yosef has this report.
Where are you going?
It's back to school.
Excited?
Yeah.
Why?
Because I don't want any more weeks off, no.
You don't want any more weeks off?
No.
What are you going to do? See your...
Friends?
Yeah?
Yeah.
Going to be good?
Yeah.
Schoolmates Mia and Alfie are on half-term, but they're both looking forward to going back. The 15-year-olds have a host of health issues and complex needs. Their families say school is somewhere they can be themselves and be with their friends.
She just absolutely loves it. She loves being with her friends. She loves people interacting with her, doing different stuff every day. It's so nice to see them pictures when she's so happy.
Every half term, is it school tomorrow? Is it school tomorrow? Every day. He loves it. Whereas at home, there's not much to do. He's not allowed out the garden gate. He just loves all this stuff in school.
Mia and Alfie were due to start at a specialist college next September, but those plans are now on hold after Bury Council announced it's axing its door-to-door transport for disabled students over the age of 16. The families say the service is vital as there's no other way they can get their children to college unless they give up their jobs.
We've got to fight for our children because they can't do it themselves. We've got to be their voice. And I just think it's disgusting that they're cutting it for disabled children.
Bury Council's facing a £22 million gap in its budget for next year. Do you appreciate the council has got to find savings somewhere?
I totally understand that, but why take it away from the vulnerable? The vulnerable children shouldn't be happening.
What's 2 years transport to college? I just think it's unfair, and I think it's really unfair on the children. This is their future.
Bury Council say with soaring costs they've been left with no choice but to remove a service they're not legally obliged to provide. They added, "We are continuing to provide help to affected families. Under the new travel policy, assistance will continue to be offered to eligible post-16 students in the form of independent travel training, mileage reimbursement or a personal travel budget. Only door-to-door transport has been removed."
Being a good girl.
The families say none of those options will help their situation. And unless the transport service is allowed to continue, they're going to be forced to make some difficult decisions about their children's futures. Anna Yosef, ITV News.
Well, there's more information about that story and details of a petition that's been started by Lynn on our website. That's all at itv.com/Granada.
In other news today, and 4 people accused of helping the gunman who murdered Elle Edwards in Wallasey have been found not guilty. Elle was killed when Connor Chapman opened fire with a submachine gun outside the Lighthouse pub on Christmas Eve 2 years ago. David Chambers, Danielle Dowdall, Roxanne Matthews and Paul Owen were all unanimously found not guilty by the jury after a 4-week trial.
OK, well, next tonight, and the Spanish region of Valencia is still reeling from the impact of the devastating floods last week.
Yeah, the government there has been accused of reacting slowly to the disaster that claimed the lives of 200 people. The king was pelted with mud by angry citizens when he visited.
Well, a young man from Macclesfield and 2 of his friends have quietly joined the clean-up effort and mucked in alongside the people of the area as they face the huge task of clearing up.
I caught up with 22-year-old Henry Moores as he and his small team were at work.
So we saw a lot of the news online about the flooding in Spain, and in the summer I walked from Manchester to Ibiza and I walked down the east coast of Spain. A lot of these places we've sort of come near to, I've walked through. And I sort of felt like it was me repaying a bit of hospitality people showed me. And just come and do me a little bit, you know. If we all do a little bit like the people in these areas do, I think we can, you know, try and help get this problem solved a lot quicker.
And describe to us, Henry, what you're seeing out there. From where I'm sat, the scenes have been utter devastation.
An unimaginable amount of cars piled up on the road, fully smashed up, police hunting, police searching for bodies, for missing people. People in distress, they've lost everything, the house, the car, washing machine, you name it. Yeah, very distressing scenes.
How surprising have the scenes been to you? I mean, watching it from the telly at home is one thing, but being actually on the ground there must be very different.
It does feel like, I'd say, a war zone, you know. There's military everywhere helping out, ambulances every single minute flying past, emergency services, humanitarian aid. It feels quite surreal, to be honest, in a sad way. It's like this stuff really does happen.
Are people there, have they even begun to think about how they are going to begin rebuilding their lives?
It's going to take months. It's going to take months and months and months, and it's one step at a time.
You've recently walked from Ellesmere Port to Zoe's Place. You've walked from Macclesfield to Paris. I mean, you do a lot of good work to raise awareness for charities, for North West-based charities. What drives you? What inspires you? What makes you feel compelled to do the type of things that you're doing right now out in Valencia?
I think you, in life you constantly take a lot of advice from older people, and when you listen back to that advice, is enjoy life more, live your life more, don't focus on money too much. So I think I try and take that advice and think, you know, I'm only young, let's go and do some good in the world. My time to go and settle down and get a career will come one day. And it's a real good feel factor as well, doing it, and knowing you're helping people out and potentially changing lives. It's worth way more than a promotion at a job or some sort of material things or financial gain.
Well, Henry, just keep on doing what you're doing. And, we hope to speak to you soon, so stay in touch.
Thank you very much, guys.
Oh, he's a great lad, isn't he? Well done, Henry.
Only 22 years old and he's got the head of an 8-year-old on his shoulders. So wise.
So wise.
Lovely pearls of wisdom there. Time for sport now, and Liverpool march on. Hi, Mike.
Yeah, hi guys. It's an extraordinary start for new manager Arne Slot, isn't it? We say it every night. Liverpool top of the table, both at home and on the continent. Luis Diaz was the hero as the Reds thrashed Bayer Leverkusen 4-0 in the Champions League.
Where we are now, we want to compete for everything. And therefore you have to accept that if you work here or play here, that there's pressure. But the other side is that if you work or play here, you can enjoy incredible evenings and enjoy it because today the atmosphere, I said last Saturday, this was impressive. I think this was even more impressive today.
Well, if you're a Manchester United fan, you'll have enjoyed these scenes in Portugal last night. Incoming manager Ruben Amorim celebrating one of his finest moments at Sporting Lisbon.
To swallow, but it's an experience and I'm here. So it's a big challenge and we knew that will be a tough season for a start. We know it, we talk about that for many reasons, but this is what it is. I like it, I love it, I wanted to face it and lift my players and try it.
Isto não quer dizer nada.
This doesn't mean anything. When I arrive in Manchester, I will be living in a different world. It will be a different team. We will have to start from a certain point. The starting point will be very different. So I would say to Manchester people that we have the luck on our side. This was a one-off. And when I arrive in Manchester, I will assess the situation. The concept will be different.
And some more news from Manchester City. The club's been ordered to pay former player Benjamin Mendy the majority of his £11 million unpaid wages, which were withheld after he was charged with sex offences. The French international was charged in 2021, but was cleared of all charges after 2 trials. Well, next to the Olympic champion tackling a very important issue in primary schools. Gymnast Max Whitlock has been in Lancashire today, where his new initiative to get children more active has been added to the school curriculum. Research has revealed that a quarter of children are overweight, with many struggling to sit on the carpet for lessons due to their lack of core strength. David Chisnall reports.
As entrances go, this was pretty memorable from the 3-time Olympic gold medalist Max Whitlock. This country's greatest ever gymnast has been on a tour of primary schools in Lancashire today, sharing his love for his sport through a PE masterclass.
Try with straight legs and just take your time. It doesn't need to be high.
As well as special assemblies where he was quizzed by the kids.
How old were you when you got a golden medal?
And showed off his impressive skills.
Their reactions when you do your skills is incredible. What's that like for you?
I think it's something that you could never get bored of. When you can do a sport that you can show children what you do in real life, and there's not many sports you can do that with, so that's why I almost want to kind of utilise that. I feel lucky to be a gymnast and to have learnt the skills that I have. If I can show that, hopefully that's a little bit of inspiration or motivation, or actually just ticks a box for a child. Actually, they maybe have never seen it before, or actually it could tick that box where they think, actually, I want to do that one day.
What was your favourite part of it?
Him doing the backflip.
Was that good?
Yeah.
Can you do a backflip?
No.
Can you do a backflip?
No.
Keep practicing, maybe one day.
The moves that he did, he could have hit the floor, but he really didn't. That was really amazing.
And what did you make of it? He keeps his Olympic medals in his socks. What did you think of that?
Smart.
It's so important to try as many different sports as you possibly can.
You might go like Max Whitlock. When he was little, he didn't even know anything. And then when he grew, he became the Britain's most, the best gymnast in the whole world.
Well, the Deepdale Community Primary School in Preston is one of 500 schools across Lancashire now able to access a new gymnastic programme designed by Max. With the latest research from NHS England showing a quarter of children aged between 2 and 15 are overweight and 1 in 7 is obese, the Olympic champion has partnered with the County Council and PE Passport to help improve children's physical development.
Some children come into school maybe not physically school ready, so we're really using gymnastics as a sport to teach the skills through that can help children get ready to write. So doing all the skills that Max has been demonstrating, that really using your shoulders, your arm muscles, your core strength will help them in the classroom in other subject areas.
You're the dad of a young daughter. How important is it that we get our youngsters out there and get them exercising, get them moving?
Yeah, my little girl's 5 years old, and actually we really encourage to try and push her to do as many sports under the sun as possible. So she's extremely busy, but actually some children aren't born up in that environment where sport is a big thing. within their family. So that's why the more opportunities that we can provide, whether that's gymnastics or any sport at all, or just keeping active or just getting moving, it's so important for their future lives.
With Max's motivation, it's hoped that these children will have the right start in life to achieve their dreams. David Chisnell, ITV News, Preston.
Max Whitlock on a very important mission there, but what about that entrance to the school hall?
That was an entrance indeed, wasn't it?
It's the type of thing that I know I just do my back in straight away, and it wouldn't be coming into work
If I
for like
wasn't
3
in this
days.
suit, I'd have had a go. You know, but...
Right, Mike, right.
Tomorrow night, you two can both come in like that.
As we approach Remembrance Sunday over the next 3 nights, we have 3 special reports. Tonight we travel to Crewe in Cheshire to meet the son of a First World War veteran.
Yeah, Roy Bradley knew very little about his father, Lieutenant Arthur Bradley's wartime service until quite recently. His dad rarely spoke about his time with the Cheshire Regiment when he came home.
Paul Crone reports now on Roy's journey of discovery.
Western Turkey, the location of the Gallipoli campaign during World War I in 1916. It was an unmitigated disaster for British forces, which ended in withdrawal and defeat. Fighting with the 7th Battalion, the Cheshire Regiment, was Lieutenant Arthur Bradley from Crewe. His son Roy, now in his 90s, has embarked on a history lesson rather late in life as he tries to find out more about his father's wartime exploits.
All these things are a mystery to me, to be honest. I've got a broad brush appreciation of the First World War, but no detail. So anything I find is really enlightening to me, yeah.
These priceless photos taken by his father during World War I start to build a picture of his service abroad. Joining the ranks to help Roy fill in the gaps is the Cheshire Roll of Honour organisation, which lists over 32,000 people from Cheshire who have served in the armed forces from 1899 to the present day.
This is what we do, this is how we try to tell those stories, and for people like Roy, who's now in his 90s, he now understands what his father went through and knows where his father was. So that to me is a really big part of what the role is all about.
What Steve Benson has discovered is that after Gallipoli, Lieutenant Bradley fought in France and was captured and held as a prisoner of war for over a year. When he was released at the end of World War I, Arthur returned home, started a job in Civvy Street, and very rarely talked about his time on the battlefront.
I didn't know that it had been a prisoner of war, you see, so this is all sort of new to me, and it's strange that he never mentioned it to me.
5,500 men from Crewe signed up to fight during World War I, and amazingly just under 5,000 returned home.
We need to tell those stories because there's many men that won bravery medals, that nobody knows those stories, that people that came back with life-changing injuries, mental health issues, and we need to be able to relate those stories back to people so we can learn from it.
Lieutenant Arthur Bradley died in 1956, aged 58. As Roy continues to find out more about his father, he's also finding out more about World War I.
You might say they were willing, but I don't think they knew, to be honest, what was going to be ahead of them. I think it was an adventure for people of that age who signed up, you know, in the very early teens.
Paul Crone, ITV News, Crewe.
And another remembrance report from Crony tomorrow night. Here's Joe.
Why do I need a shower? I've been out in the rain.
The faster you go, the sooner you'll be out. You'll save water too.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Thank you. A very good evening to you. Rather gloomy conditions at times. There's been a bit of brightness today, but on the whole, the next few days will be rather cloudy. It remains generally dry for the northwest, with temperatures just above average for the time of year. Now, we have high pressure out across Europe, low pressure to the west, and that's just increasing a little bit of a breeze for Irish sea coast through tonight and tomorrow. Other than that, as we head towards the weekend, still that high pressure asserting itself, so plenty of dry weather ahead, if a little cloudy. Back to this evening's details, and we will see fog reforming quite widely, particularly up on higher ground in the Pennines through tonight. More of a breeze perhaps for Irish sea coast. Other than that, a dry night ahead, cloudy, and temperatures not falling much below 10 or 11 degrees, so by no means chilly. On to tomorrow, the sun is up at 7:23, setting at 4:25 tomorrow afternoon. A bit of a tricky start perhaps in the rush hour up on those Trans-Pennine routes initially, with fog around tomorrow morning. It's going to be gloomy for all of us through the first part of the day, maybe the odd glimmer of brightness if we're lucky, but all in all, cloudy, generally dry. Out of thicker cloud, perhaps some drizzle in the air up on higher ground, and there's a cooler feel tomorrow afternoon, around 12 Celsius, our top temperature. Looking ahead through the rest of the week, the cloudy theme continues. It's generally dry on Friday, scope for a bit of brightness later on, and temperatures are around average for the time of year. It's turning a little bit milder perhaps through Sunday, with some brightness through the afternoon. Into Monday, fresher conditions will prevail with more sunshine ahead. Enjoy your evening.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Thank you, and that is it from us for now, but do stay with us. The ITV Evening News is next with all the reaction from the American general election.
Yeah, and on tomorrow's Granada Reports, we'll be at Zoe's Place Children's Hospice in Liverpool to find out about their campaign to raise £6.5 million.
We'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Have a good night. Bye-bye.